what are some things that exist now and maybe could exist through some policy change that would give customers more control over their bill?
So the exact stat was that 4 in 5 Americans, which was a consistent number across Democrats, Republicans, and independents, feel powerless over rising utility bills. And I suspect that there are a few reasons for that. One of which is that unlike many, if not any other product you consume on a regular basis, the month to month fluctuations and volatility are very pronounced and confusing for a lot of folks. There's also very oftentimes limited visibility in terms of what's actually driving those costs. How should we expect everybody to know what a fuel adjustment charge or a transmission charge or a delivery charge is? It's not like it's explained on the bill. And there's also very few products where you know how much you're paying for it as you're consuming it. So I think there's something that's fairly distinct about electricity and gas that makes this a particularly frustrating expense. There's certainly more expensive items like rent, for instance, but I think as the egg price news cycle showed, it's not necessarily just the most expensive thing that leads to the most frustration. And why that matters is on a going forward basis, if there's going to be all these utility rate increase requests and there's not a commensurate effort to make sure that consumers actually feel represented in the process and the decision making and the outcome, and they know what the PUCT and ERCOT is, and they know what's actually driving these costs, then there's a huge risk that there's going to be consumer backlash where folks will simply not want rate increases of any level. And I think there's an extreme version of that where then we don't invest in any grid infrastructure, and that's not good either. And so I think that what this does mean is that there's an urgency to make sure that on a going forward basis, as the set of constraints around our utility regulatory system and grid infrastructure build out become more and more constrained, that we actually center consumer interest in all of these decisions going forward.